I was just the cleaning lady in his fancy high-rise office. I had no business catching feelings, but the way he looked at me that night, that was the beginning of something none of us expected. I'm just a black girl with a mop. So how did I end up with a billionaire's heart? If you've ever believed love only happens in movies, girl, you need to hear this. Like, share, and subscribe because my story is proof that love shows up when you least expect it. Even in rubber gloves and work boots, people look at me and think they know my story, but they don't. I'm 27, a black woman just trying to make it in downtown Atlanta. By day, I'm a full-time student taking online classes, trying to finish my business degree. By night, I put on my hoodie, lace up my sneakers, and head out to clean offices. Fancy ones. The kind with glass walls, marble floors, and views that make you forget you're broke. I'm not ashamed of what I do. It's honest work, and it pays the bills, barely. I take care of my little brother, too. He's 12, smart as hell, always asking questions. Our mom passed when he was 6, and since then, it's just been me and him. So, yeah, I clean, I hustle, I survive, and I don't bother anyone. I show up, do my job, and keep it moving. I never expected anything more from the places I cleaned, certainly not from the people in them. So, the night I first saw him, I didn't think anything of it. Just another late-night suit, buried in some spreadsheet. I didn't even know he was the billionaire. And honestly, I wouldn't have cared. At the time, all I cared about was finishing the job and catching the last train home. The second time I saw him, it was raining, not just a drizzle. Atlanta was pouring like the sky had something to prove. I was soaked just from walking in the building. My hoodie was dripping, and my socks felt like wet paper towels. I clocked in, grabbed my cart, and headed up to the top floor like usual. I didn't expect anyone to be there that late. Most nights, the offices are dead silent. Just me, my mop, and some bad pop music in my headphones. But when I pushed open the glass door to his office, there he was again, sitting behind his giant mahogany desk, sleeves rolled up, glasses on, typing like he was racing time. He looked up, gave me this half smile. I froze a little. Was I interrupting? I muttered a soft, "Sorry," and started backing out. But he said, "No, it's okay. You don't have to go." Now, let me be clear. I've worked in dozens of offices. Most of the time, people don't even look at you, let alone talk. But this man, he asked my name. I paused, surprised. "Nia," I said. "Nia," he repeated, like he was trying it on for size. "I'm Evan." I nodded, already turning back to the trash bin. But he didn't stop there. "You always clean this late?" I shrugged. "Night shifts pay better." He smiled again, this quiet kind of smile, and said, "Well, thanks for keeping this place looking better than I do." It caught me off guard. Not flirting, just kind, genuine. I didn't know what to make of it. I just emptied the bin, wiped down his desk, and got out of there. But I'll be honest, his voice followed me the whole way home. After that rainy night, things started to shift. I didn't expect to keep seeing him, but somehow, Evan was always there. I'd walk in at 9:30, expecting the place to be empty, and there he was, sleeves rolled up, necktie loose, glasses on, looking like someone out of a Netflix drama. At first, we just exchanged those polite nods. You know, the "I see you but I'm not being weird" kind. But then one night I walked in, and there was a cup of coffee waiting on the counter with a little sticky note. "Didn't know your order. Hope it's right. E." I looked around like it was a prank. I hadn't told him I was always tired. I hadn't told anyone that I skipped dinner some nights to save money. But that night, that cup of coffee hit different. So I said thank you. Next night, he asked how school was going. And before I knew it, we were having these little talks. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I'd be wiping windows while he asked me about my marketing class. He told me he used to be terrible at algebra. I laughed and told him I still was. It wasn't deep yet, but it was honest. And then one night, I asked him why he was always there so late. I meant it as a joke, like, dang, don't billionaires sleep? But he got real quiet and said, "It's easier than going home." That stuck with me because I know that feeling, that weight, that silence you walk into after a long day when there's nobody waiting on the other side of the door. After that, I saw him differently. He wasn't just some rich guy burning the midnight oil. He was a man with his own lonely, a man who saw me, not just as the girl who emptied his trash, but as someone worth talking to. And y'all, it felt good to be seen, not pitied, not judged, just seen. That was the beginning of something I didn't see coming. It was a Thursday night. I remember because I had just come from the grocery store and my card declined. Again. I had $42 to my name and rent was due in 3 days. My little brother needed new shoes. I had 3 assignments overdue. My body was tired, my brain was fried, and my heart just couldn't anymore. By the time I got to work, I was already holding back tears. I told myself I'd just make it through the shift and cry later in the bathroom or something. But I didn't make it that far. I ended up sitting on a milk crate in the supply closet, head in my hands, ugly crying before I even got through half the floor. I didn't hear him come in. He didn't say anything at first. He just crouched down next to me, quiet. I wiped my face, embarrassed, trying to pull myself together. "I'm fine," I said. "Lieutenant," he looked at me and said gently, "You don't have to be." I broke. Again. I told him I was just tired, that I didn't want to be here crying in front of my boss, that I hated how small my life felt sometimes. He listened, no judgment, no pity. Then he said something I'll never forget. "My mom used to clean offices too. She raised me on her own. Sometimes I'd hide in her janitor closet and do homework while she cleaned. I remember that smell of bleach and determination like it was yesterday. That moment, it changed everything. Because suddenly, we weren't a billionaire and a cleaning girl anymore. We were just two people, two lives shaped by struggle, by strong women, by trying to rise out of what we were born into. He didn't try to fix me. He didn't offer me money or pity. He just saw me, the real me. And that night, something shifted between us. It wasn't romantic, not yet, but it was intimate, honest. And from that moment forward, every time I walked into that office, I felt safer, like I wasn't alone anymore. And honestly, that scared me more than anything. It started with a simple question. "You eat yet?" I blinked at him, caught off guard. It was late, maybe 11:15 p.m., and I was scrubbing fingerprints off the glass wall in his office. I looked up. Not really. He stood there, holding his jacket, and said, "Come eat with me." I laughed, thinking he was joking. "I'm in work clothes. You want to take the girl in rubber gloves to dinner?" He just smiled and said, "I want to take you to dinner." I almost said no. I should have said no, but something in his voice, something soft and tired and real, made me say yes. We ended up on a rooftop restaurant just a block away. I'd passed it before but never dared to look inside. The kind of place with string lights, real linen napkins, and soft jazz humming in the background. I felt awkward in my faded jeans and oversized hoodie, but Evan pulled out my chair like I was royalty. We didn't talk about money or work or the mess of my life. We talked about books, music, childhood dreams. He told me he used to want to be an architect. I told him I wanted to start a cleaning company, hire women like my mom, like me, and pay them what they deserved. He looked at me like I was magic. That night didn't end with fireworks. No kiss, no promises, just a long walk to my car, the city quiet around us. But when I got home, I couldn't stop smiling. And that was the moment I realized maybe this wasn't just some silly crush. Maybe he felt it too. The kiss didn't happen the way I imagined it would. It wasn't like the movies, no dramatic music or slow motion moment. It was simple, quiet, but it knocked the breath out of me. It had been a few days since that rooftop dinner. Things between us were still casual on the outside, but something had changed. I felt it in the way he looked at me, in the way I started looking back. One night, after I finished wiping down his office, he asked me to stay for a few minutes, said he had something to show me. He pulled up a design on his laptop, blueprints, said he was renovating one of his smaller buildings into affordable office spaces for small business owners. Then he smiled and said, "If you ever want to open that cleaning company, I'll give you your first office, rent free." I just stared at him. My heart was doing gymnastics. "You serious?" "Dead serious," he said. "You're not just passing through this world, Nia. You're meant to leave your mark." And right then, I felt something shift in the air. He looked at me, not like a man looking at a girl he pities, but like a man who sees a woman. I opened my mouth to say thank you, but the words never made it out. He stepped in close. His hand brushed mine. And then he kissed me, software slow, like he had all the time in the world. I didn't pull away. I didn't think. I just melted. And in that moment, every wall I'd built around myself, every voice telling me I wasn't good enough, faded away. Because somehow, against all odds, he saw me, and I let him in. It didn't take long before people started noticing. I tried to keep my head down, act normal, still showed up in my hoodie, still did my job like always. But whispers started floating around. Office folks suddenly got quiet when I entered a room. My supervisor pulled me aside one day and said, "I don't know what's going on, but you might want to be more careful." Careful? For what? Talking to a man who treated me like a human being? Word must have gotten around. I don't know who said what or how, but I felt the shift. I wasn't just the cleaning girl anymore. I was that girl. The one people were side-eyeing in the break room. Like I'd done something wrong by existing in his space. I started questioning everything. Was I imagining the connection? Did he feel the same? Was I just a distraction to him? Something temporary? I even thought about quitting. I didn't want anyone thinking I was trying to level up by getting close to a rich man. I'd worked too hard, fought too long, to be reduced to that. When I told him about the gossip, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I don't care what they think. I care what you feel." And honestly, that messed me up. In a good way, because I'd never had anyone stand by me like that. Not without conditions, not without expecting something in return. But even with his support, the noise outside got louder, and part of me started to wonder, could a man like him really choose a woman like me? Could love survive in a world built on money, power, and judgment? I didn't have the answer then, but I was about to find out. I was tired, tired of the whispers, tired of doubting myself, tired of feeling like I had to shrink just to fit into a world that didn't want me to stand tall. One night, I almost didn't go in to clean. I sat outside the building for 15 minutes, debating whether to just walk away from it all. But something told me to go in. When I stepped off the elevator onto his floor, the lights were low. The hallway was quiet, and when I opened the door to his office, I froze. Candles, real ones, lined up neatly along the windowsill. A bouquet of sunflowers, my favorite, and I'd never even told him that, sat on his desk. And there was a note, just a folded piece of paper with my name on it. I opened it with shaking hands. It said, "You've cleaned this office every night. Now let me clean the mess I made by staying silent. You're not just the woman who keeps this place together. You're the woman who keeps me together. I didn't know what to feel. I just stood there, trying not to cry. Then the door opened behind me. He walked in, no suit, no fancy title, just Evan. And in that moment, it wasn't about money or class or what anybody else thought. It was just us. He stepped closer and said, I want this. I want you. No pretending, no hiding. I looked up at him, and all the fear, the doubt, the shame, I let it go, and I said, okay. That was the night I stopped running. Not because he saved me, but because I finally saw myself the way he saw me. People still talk. That never really stopped. Some folks whisper behind my back. Others ask fake nice questions like, so, are you still cleaning? Like success only counts when it comes with a suit and a corner office. But you know what? I am still cleaning, just not the same way. After I graduated, Evan helped me start my own cleaning business. I named it after my mom, Ruth's Hands. I hired women who reminded me of her, women who work hard, who show up tired but still give 100%, women who've been overlooked, dismissed, and underpaid. Now we've got 3 contracts in the city. My team wears custom uniforms. I set the wages. I write the checks. And Evan, he's still in that office, still chasing deals, still working too late. But the difference now? Sometimes I show up, not to mop floors, but to bring him dinner. Sometimes I still wipe off his desk, out of habit. He laughs when I do that. Then he pulls me into his arms and says, You're the best thing that ever happened to this place. We're not perfect. We argue sometimes. Life gets messy, but we love hard. We choose each other every day. I used to think love stories like this weren't for girls like me, that you had to look a certain way, come from a certain world, speak a certain language. But I was wrong. I'm just a black woman who cleaned an office. And somehow, I ended up cleaning a billionaire's heart and building a life of my own in the process. Love doesn't ask for permission or status. It just shows up. If you've ever felt invisible, girl, let my story remind you, you are worthy of being seen, heard, and loved. Don't forget to like, comment your favorite part, and share this with someone who needs a little hope today.